Hello and welcome to the University of Law. In today's video I am reviewing and unboxing this Doctor Who, the Young War Doctor, or no, the War Doctor Begins I should say, Comrades-in-Arms. I love the Young War Doctor stuff. Obviously it's 10 years of the War Doctor, it's the 10th anniversary for him. And it's great to see that the character is still very much being explored. And what I love most is that they're exploring this era of the War Doctor. I think certainly, as I mentioned in the extra features, this is about how he becomes the Doctor who attempts to destroy the Daleks and Time Lords alike. This is how that Doctor is made. And I think there's so much potential, and there's 400 years of potential of character development for this Doctor, and I think they're really going for it. The first full box is really, were just enjoyable. They're exploring the character. I thought it really came together in the last box set. It really did come together. And now we're starting off on a whole new story. There will be spoilers as I unbox and review. So obviously we've got on the front, we've got our obviously young War Doctor on here. It looks like he's wearing some kind of Time Lord robe underneath, which looks great. Yeah, so we've got front cover. On the back we have got the titles: A Mother's Love by Noga Flation, Berserker by Timothy X. Atack, and Memnos by Phil Mulrine, directed all by Barbie K. Thanks, first time they've had a different director on this range. So we've got the Berserker Dalek on the front. Great to see that character visualised. He's prominent in the second story, the middle story of the box set. And then we have also got Case, and we've got Becklin in a sort of pose there. Look like some dramatic moments happening there, and Case, of course, who was last seen in the second War Doctor Begins box set, and it was a great character, and it was a really solid. It was that box set when it was a 3-part. It was a 3-hour epic story. It was really good. It was a great way after the first box set. I kind of just introduced gently the character. I thought the first box set, I enjoyed all 3 stories. The first story in the set definitely kicked off his era. It was like a perfect regeneration story. The finale was faultless. I loved the finale with his first confrontation properly with the Dalek Time strategist in Disincarnation. But then to actually say, right, now we're doing an epic story, it just showed that we can do anything with this format. I think it was a great decision rather than doing more of the same. And that seems to have been the pattern so far. We kind of have a box set of 3 stories and a big epic 3-parter. A box set with 3 stories, big epic 3-parter. And as I go through, certainly this character is here to stay. I know they talk about in the extras how this is the next step for him. It's about him having a different character to bounce off. She's not a companion because he doesn't travel with people. And it is really well done. It doesn't feel like, she's a companion in all but name. She really isn't. She happens to be travelling with him, but there is no trust there is no friendship there. It's definitely a difficult relationship. She becomes more of the hero, I feel, in the story, and therefore that makes the Doctor more distant. You don't trust him. He's even more scheming and manipulative than the 7th Doctor, and that's how it should be, because he's not the Doctor. He doesn't call himself the Doctor. He's a warrior, and I think sometimes there's a danger that he just becomes another Doctor, and you think, well, actually, the point is he's not the Doctor. He's unfamiliar. He's not the person that we know and love. This is the Doctor who fought the Time Lords. This is the Doctor who destroyed Daleks and Time Lords alike, destroyed his home planet, and this is how he gets there. And I think while the Doctor was going on that journey, and there were still remnants of his old self in those first 4 sets. I think what we're seeing now is that journey into becoming a little bit more darker. And I think it was inspired that they've got Case, because it means that we can actually see that from a distance. Because usually the Doctor is our entry point, and it's difficult when you've got a series which is about the War Doctor. It's about him. And hasn't got a companion. If he's who you're following, it's difficult to kind of not have him as a relatable character. I mean, take for example the War Master stuff. He basically becomes the hero, although he's not doing nice things. He's the hero of the set. He's the centerpiece, and actually we want him to feel distant and removed and callous. We want to feel that about the War Doctor, because that's who he is. That's what's dramatic. That's why he rejected his future selves. Won't even look at him. I think he says in Day of the Doctor, when you look at me, you look at me with dread. And I think it's important that we actually see that. And I think this box set's done that, and it's on that journey. And I think certainly from what I hear, it looks like this is. I think Jonathan Carly said when I first knew we were doing more, I wanted to know where are we going. And from what I've read from his tweets and heard from his interviews, this is clearly the start of that journey now. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. And there's certainly a cliffhanger at the end, and this character's going to carry on, and we're going to continue to see that journey progress with this warrior incarnation as well. I think there's certainly potential to see the War Doctor in spin-offs, to see him in Gallifrey War Room, to see him in, say there was a Dalek-centric series, but he makes cameos. He can make a cameo in the War Master range. I think that would be wonderful to actually just have him as a background character in someone else's story, and because he's that bit removed, he suddenly becomes more removed to you, and you see how suspicious this Doctor really is. Well, I've talked enough without unboxing it, but you can see how passionate I am about this range. This range is faultless. This range is what I've always wanted. From the second that they did Day of the Doctor, I just wanted there to be a War Doctor range, starting with Night of the Doctor and following it through. And we got Into the War as a book, and I loved that. We got the wonderful John Hurt doing 4 box sets at the end of the War Doctor's life, and I loved those. But when this came out, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been waiting for a long, long time. And it's not disappointed at all. 5 box sets in, 15 hours of content in, and I'm still just loving every second of it. And long may it continue. So, as always, we've got that spine with the War Doctor's face on. These are definitely growing on me. These artworks, especially for this incarnation where there aren't photographs of him young. I'm guessing it's taken from the same 1970s teleplay that he did, that they've got that he did with the BBC, that they included in After the Doctor. I've done the back already, haven't I? Right. So let's get it up. Actually, that is my only, not complaint, my only confusion, because as I mentioned before, Big Finish are usually really on point with continuity. And I'm sure Veclin, when she met John Hurt in his box set, didn't know each other. I'm sure they weren't familiar with each other. But they're very familiar here earlier in his time stream. Maybe there'll be a reason. Maybe this is a later Veclin. Maybe because he knew it was a later Veclin, he knew he had to pretend he didn't know her. I don't know. But I wonder if that will be addressed at some point, because they're usually spot on with continuity. So, not a complaint at all. But I did notice that. I wonder, because usually they're quite hot on that. Maybe they'll address it at some point. But here we are. So if I open it up, inside we have got Disc 1, A Mother's Love. And we've got as I mentioned, those 4 John Hurt box sets. Mother's Love by Nogaflation. It's a great reintroduction to Case. And what I did like about it was the setting was really original, a Time Lord hospital. Obviously, we've got a bit of crossover there with the Once and Future stuff. I did wonder at one point whether this might lead into that. It might end with him degenerating into that, and that would take place within this box set. But it looks like it's the 8th Doctor in Once and Future, from the trailer at least. But yeah, so I love the setting, and I love the villain in it, and I liked an acronym of Mom, and some great performances all around, and a great reintroduction to the character, and starting to look at kind of how the Doctor is being seen negatively by other Time Lords, but not necessarily because he's one of the good guys, but because maybe they don't trust him, because they don't know how far he can go. So we're starting to see his reputation precede him, and even with someone like Veclin, who's usually known for being quite reckless. So that was a lovely start to the box set, and a lovely setup to reintroduce Case. I love how that character sounds a lot like Cass as well, because obviously that's how he was born. That was the catalyst for his creation. But yeah, now what I did love was how we reintroduced her character, but it took the threads that were left at the end of the last box set and then really set it up ready for her character journey, which is going to lead into the next box set as well. We've got our little booklet as well, with the little synopsises, we've got the photographs, credits, and then we've got on the back the credits as well. And then we move into story number 2, Berserker. One of the first times I've ever really felt like the War Doctor isn't such a nice character. There's always been a twinkle of the Doctor in there, and I didn't feel that in this box set at all. It's shot in one long take. Well, it was recorded in chunks, but it plays in one long take. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's from a writer that I've experienced before with Big Finish, and it's a great script with a great Dalek in there as well. It was a little bit like, I'm trying to think, it's a little bit like Cold War, the 11th Doctor and Ice Warrior story. It's like it's based under siege, and you got a character who you think you know who can suddenly do all sorts of new things. A little bit like what Steve Moffat also did with the Weeping Angels, interested in new things. So you've got a new Dalek which can do new and unexpected things, who's evolving, who's changing, who's becoming even more of a monster. So yeah, lovely middle story. And then a great finale in Memnos. If I have a look at it, yeah, there's the previous 4 volumes of Young War Doctor. War Doctor Begins. A great end. Again, Phil Mulroney, another great writer who I love his Big Finish content. I'm sure I first heard him writing for the War Doctor with John Hurt. I'm sure that's where I first heard him. One of my favourite box sets of the War Doctor, actually. But yeah, what's great about this story is it's another good concept. There are these people who are trying to preserve what was, now that it's all been destroyed. And we see a little bit of the Doctor's twinkle come back. There's nothing redeeming about the Doctor in the story in terms of how he is and what he says and how he acts. But the very fact that he's contributed and that he's engaged with this project shows that there's something still in there of the Doctor. There's some hope in there, and certainly that's why he became the Doctor again afterwards. You know, he certainly wanted to be the Doctor again, and we certainly see that in on that journey again. And you know, Day of the Doctor is him become the Doctor again, and the Ninth Doctor wants to be the Doctor and rejecting that previous incarnation. But I think I think for all that he does, I think there'll always be that kind of thing underneath where deep down he's doing this because he is the Doctor and he just wants things to be the way they were again. The timer wasn't, well, you could argue it was his fault, but then he wasn't asked to go back. He didn't ask to be, he didn't ask to go back to Skaro, as the 4th Doctor he was told to. But I think it's a great story in terms of looking at the character in that part of him will always be buried. Even if he buries it, it's always there. There's always that deep down he wants things to be the way they were. He wants to be the Doctor again. He wants the universe to be the way it was, and he can travel around with his companions and friends and not have this threat of a time war. So there's certainly that hope there, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Having the Doctor being ruthless and callous, but underneath it, know that he's doing it because he wants that, and he's sacrificing himself for that, isn't he? He's given himself for that, and he certainly has sacrificed himself because the future incarnations don't even reference him, so he has been sacrificed in that sense. And then a great cliffhanger at the end. He thinks Casey's been destroyed, but she's gonna come back, and I guess she'll be the big bad, and I guess it's gonna be a big 3-part epic story when it comes back in December. Also, the ending basically shows that the universe, he may have given up on himself, but the universe still hasn't given up on him. There are still people out there who believe that he's the person to restore order and calm and peace to the universe. But there we have it. I love this box set. I hope you got that feeling from me as I reviewed it. I love this range, and long may it continue. I think certainly with John Carley, I think this could go on for decades. You know, 2 box sets a year for decades. So hopefully we get loads of progression with this character. So much potential. But what did you think? Do let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I look forward to speaking to you soon.